Cheers, people. Thank you very much. This is the Chelsea Football Fancast, and I am Stamford Chidge, which, let's face it, is a very silly name. But there you go. That's how we roll on this show. Now, this bit of the show is, in fact, called You're on CFFC, and there's a reason for that. We've nicked it straight out of Sky Sports, where they do You're on Sky Sports. But instead of Cundy, well, I don't even know who does it anymore, actually. I think they fired Cundy. Maybe this lot will fire me one day, and then you'll be sorry. Right, but if you want to... Yeah, the revolution will be televised. Anyway, we should move on because we've got somebody on the line in a minute, and I'll tell you who in a sec. But first of all, if you want to contribute to this, what you have to do is you have to listen and post on mixlr.com/Chelsea-fancast, or... you can email me questions during the week, chelseafancast@gmail.com. There are a couple this week, I'm delighted to say. Or you can tweet us at ChelseaFancast or use the hashtag ChelseaFancast and ask us questions, and we will do our very level best to answer them. The best thing to do, though, is to get on the old dog and bone and Skype us. And you can add us at Skype, chelsea.fancast, and then we can see you speaking to us, which we really, really like. Now, unfortunately, we can't see the lovely Amanda Jacks, who I know that we have on the line, but Amanda is the caseworker for the Football Supporters Federation, and what she doesn't know about stewarding and police activity and all that kind of jazz is just not worth knowing, and she's been on the show before, and I'm delighted to welcome her back. Hello, Amanda.
Hello, and thank you very much for that flattering introduction.
Well, you know how much I love you, Amanda.
Oh, thanks. Don't tell everyone, though.
I know. We'll just keep it between us. There's nobody watching, so we'll be fine.
We'll keep it secret.
On serious points, though, Amanda, I mean, you know, we had a good old chat about it in the first couple of parts of the show, and Pablo was actually there as well. But it sounds like, you know, a lot of very heavy-handing policing and stewarding at the Man City game. And, in fact, a lot of people that I've been, you know, who I know on Twitter and elsewhere have compared it to the ineptitude that the Chelsea fans faced in the Arsenal match in the Carling Cup, or the Capital One Cup even, whatever they call it now. Does that ring any bells with you? Is that the kind of feedback you're getting?
Yes, it is. And I think this is just the latest in... not a wrong line, but we've certainly seen several incidents this season. I'm not going to name a shame, I don't think that's overly helpful, but suffice to say, we've seen several incidents where I think what's going on is obviously Pyro is a big concern to the authorities, you know, smoke bombs, flares. And from what I can gather, I think what's happening is some clubs are having an incredibly strict searching regime, which means a build-up of crowds outside. And from what I'm seeing, I don't think there's necessarily proper risk analysis is going on, and I don't think there's anybody there saying, hang on a minute, what's the lesser of two evils here? A smoke bomb getting in, or a large build-up of people that are going to get increasingly angry, and in some cases they've been in quite confined spaces as well, which kind of adds to the upset of the crowd. Now, I'm certainly not condoning pyrotechnics. I think they're not the greatest thing we've ever seen, but I think in the grand scheme of things, you know, what is the lesser of two evils? Hundreds of upset fans outside the ground being treated quite poorly, or a smoke bomb going off. And I'm not sure the authorities are taking a pragmatic view when I think they should be.
I think that's a really good point, Amanda. And actually, you know what? That would also explain why they had netting in front of the goal, I think, because, well, I mean, a lot of people were saying they've not seen it when they've been away at City before, and of course the stewards at the front also had eye protectors, so maybe, I mean, and the other thing is, you know, anecdotally, I heard somebody ask a police officer while they were there why the Chelsea fans were getting treated in the way that they were, and he was told, well, it's because of your reputation. And of course I immediately leapt to the obvious conclusion of that, but actually what he probably meant was our reputation with Pyro, because we have been chucking a few about in the last year or two.
Yeah, it's not helpful. It's incredibly frustrating, and the FSF have been warning for some time now that not only are the consequences for individual fans who get caught using Pyro quite severe, consequences for supporters collectively are also, well, as you've experienced, starting to be seen. And, you know, an awful lot of fans say to us, policing and stewarding is really bad, it's excessive, and I've been saying for some time now, well, if you carry on using Pyro, it's only going to get worse, and sadly that's what we're seeing.
I think one of the other things is that, you know, inside the ground, and I mean particularly in the corner where the City fans are next to the Chelsea fans, and we know that historically, you know, at the Etihad, City's most vociferous fans tend to be right next to the away support. And obviously we had a lot of us up there. You know, we had a big turnout for us, and yeah, you know, passions rise, people have a go at each other verbally, and that's what happens. But I'm told, I mean, Pablo wasn't sitting there, but he was there. I mean, you know, was that an issue?
In what part?
Well, I mean, you know, were the stewards getting quite aggressive with the Chelsea fans because Chelsea fans were giving it out a bit too much, or what?
I can't speak for the front, but certainly on the divide it was like pretty aggressive throughout the game. It was more the police that seemed to be going in and grabbing people after instance to calm down rather than the stewards themselves doing much. But they were pretty much impassive on the boundary, not looking at the City fans throughout the game. Yeah.
But it's certainly, you know, I think the general consensus, Amanda, is for a lot of the Chelsea fans, yeah, OK, there are a few that were a bit out of order. You're always going to get a few. But I think generally people felt that the policing and the stewarding was particularly aggressive.
Yeah, that certainly resonates with what I've been told, and I think as well what's a concern not just with your own fans but across football. I think there's a tendency in the football industry for it to be very introspective. So when things do go wrong, the tendency is to blame the fans. Oh, well, the fans were arseholes. They were playing up. They were doing this. And what I would be advocating is, yeah, some fans were undoubtedly out of order, but also please look at the impact the policing and stewarding had on the behaviour of fans, because that is just as integral as, you know, when you look at the overall operation, you've got to look at how the stewarding and policing impacted on the behaviour of fans. That isn't to absolve individuals of responsibility for their own behaviour, but, you know, not just on Saturday. Numerous times I've seen and heard very minor incidents all of a sudden explode because the police and all the stewards have steamed in and completely overreacted, which of course encourages other fans to overreact, because if they see their own fellow fans on the receiving end of some OTT stewarding, the reality is a lot of them aren't just going to ignore it, they are going to make their feelings felt, either vocally or they're going to surge forward, and then all of a sudden you've got a crowd disorder on your hands when the incident that it stemmed from was probably quite minor.
Good point, Amanda. Thank you for that. You got a point, Dan?
Yeah, hi, Amanda. It's Dan Levine from the Fulham Chronicle here.
Hello, Dan.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, fine.
There's a very good piece in the New Statesman today, in which I think you're quoted quite extensively. It's about the sort of legislative background of policing in football and how it's changed a lot in recent years. And I think while all of us around here are obviously football supporters, and obviously you are too, we're maybe a group of people that sometimes there's not a lot of sympathy for. But one of the points you make in there, and one of the points that article makes, is that these changes and these crackdowns on our civil liberties have wider implications for the public, which I think that was something you were saying there. You agree with that?
Yes, I would, and I think there is an element, and I've said this many times to many people, consciously or subconsciously, I think some people, when they're dealing with football fans, think it's just a bunch of football fans we're dealing with. We don't have to worry too much about external scrutiny. The Guardian aren't going to be putting it on their front pages in the same way they would if it was protesters. And I also think to some extent football fans don't help themselves. You know, I will guarantee that there would have been an awful lot of Chelsea fans there on Saturday really, really unhappy at what they witnessed and how they were treated. They'd have gone on Twitter, Facebook forums and bitched and moaned about it. But when we're encouraging fans to come forward and say, look, we really need you to put your experiences in writing to us, they will think, what's the point?
Yeah.
Why should I bother? What's going to change? It's just part and parcel of being a football fan. But that's a bit of a vicious circle. So, you know, if any of your listeners or viewers were there on Saturday night, I would strongly urge them to get in touch with us or the Supporters Trust or the Chelsea Supporters Group. You know, 3 organisations all really wanting to work hard to improve facilities for fans. So between us, we can compile a dossier of reports, of eyewitnesses, and send it to Man City and send it to Greater Manchester Police and say, look, something went wrong. We want to be part of the solution and not just part of the problem. So, as I said, you know, anyone out there who was concerned about what they saw or heard, please do get in touch. And
we've got your Twitter handle up there, Amanda, which of course is at FSF_FairCop. But what's the email address to send those into?
It's amanda.jacks, JACKS, at fsf.org.uk, or the Chelsea Supporters Trust or the Chelsea Supporters Group, you know, any one of those three organisations, please do send through, you know, your witness report.
We'll definitely encourage them to do just that, Amanda, because as I said, I know a lot of them were unhappy, and you know, I think two sides. One, it ruins your day out, particularly if you end up getting arrested for no apparent reason. But I think it's just a shame that to be made to feel like a criminal just for watching a football match, which is very much what your campaign at the FSF has been about. So thank you for that. Amanda, I'm going to let you go back to your dinner party. Will you apologise to your guests and colleagues on my behalf? And thank you very, very much for coming in at such short notice. It's very sweet of you.
That's a pleasure, and thank you very much for raising the issue. I'm glad that you've done so.
Not at all. You know what we're like. We're very up on that.
You
so
are,
thank you.
indeed. Right, back to my wine.
Yeah, lucky you. We've got another hour to go yet, my love. But take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Brilliant stuff. I tell you, Amanda and the FSF are just, I mean, you know, if you gave out OBEs for football, I mean, I think Amanda and...
Funnily enough, nobody
ever does miss with David Beckham or
only
whatever.
to the chairman of the FA.
Yeah. But if you did, you know, the first in the line for me would be Amanda and John Darch for the work that they do. They're absolutely tremendous. Now, we've got a few questions to ask from our lovely listeners or listener. And we also have a couple of emails first, don't we, Chad Meister?
We do, yeah.
I believe my greatest ever friend from Australia, Mr. Bobby D himself, has something to say about a certain Dazamental.
Yeah, he does.
Would you like to read it out?
Yeah, it goes like this. He says, worried, don't do it again. It wasn't the most ideal result, and I have no doubt that Ross's ratings will reflect the players that didn't perform in the match. But there is one person I hold solely responsible for this result. I was watching last week's podcast, and in part 5, one person in the panel proclaimed, "We just don't concede silly goals at the end of the game. For pooh's sake, Darren, keep that boat race shut in future. It's your fault we didn't win at the Hawthorns. Apart from that, I love you like a brother. Up the Chelsea, Bobby D."
That's definitely a round of applause for both Bobby D and what have you got to say in your defence, sir?
That at the start of the season we were doing it. We have stopped. Jose doesn't do that, and we were doing it. He stopped doing it, and I can't believe we went back to it.
Well, because JT wasn't there. I think that was the reason.
Could be partly.
Lovely to hear from Bobby D. I hope the weather's wonderful where he is. No doubt it is. Sunny Melbourne. Talking of sunny Melbourne, actually, we actually, because these are both emails, which is why I was so keen to read them in, just to prove that if you do send an email in to us, we read them out. The next one, Chad, that you've got is definitely from a bloke who lives near Melbourne. I wonder if he knows Bobby D. We should bring them together.
Well, we can do that with the magic of TV, can't we?
I'll tee him up, you hit him, son.
Yeah. Well, no, it's a really nice email here. It says, "Dear Chelsea Football Fancast team, my name is Dave Bishop and I live in Chelsea, near Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. I've always been a fanatical Blues fan. I got the blue line from Rob Robinson's on the arm to prove it. I followed the mighty Blues all over, usually on Hickey's coach that used to travel up from Tunbridge Wells.
Brilliant.
Until I left for Australia in 1984, although we weren't quite as mighty then. Trips to Hull, Shrewsbury and Carlisle were more common in my travelling days. My daughter Ella and I have recently discovered your podcast show and absolutely love it.
Sorry.
I'm on the road a fair bit and can't wait every week to stick it on. I love the fact that some of you guys are around my age and make references now and then to stuff from my Chelsea days. One of my claims to fame is hitchhiking back from Chelsea at 3 a.m. one freezing cold morning after losing an FA Cup match 3-0 versus Man U at Old Trafford with a bunch of other Chelsea tragics including Kevin Sweeney and Tommy Kavanagh. After about 2 minutes, we were picked up in a Merc by none other than Eric Clapton, who went about 10 miles out of his way and dropped us off outside our houses in Thames Ditton and Molesley. Anyway, enough reminiscing. My daughter Ella, 18, is also a mad football player, slide tackles a speciality, and a fan of the Blues. She's coming over on her first trip to England between November and February this year and was wondering if you could have Ella and my brother Trevor on the bench for one of your shows. Cheers. Come on, you Blues. Dave Bishop.
I have to say, it's one of the best emails we've ever had on this
great
show.
story,
I think round of applause for Dave and Ella for a start. I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Probably the nicest thing Eric Clapton's ever done.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know Eric Clapton was a Chelsea fan, but now we know.
Slow hand to the rescue.
Slow hand to the rescue. Okay. Look, well, I mean, we did the Zola song, which was
Lola Kings.
Yeah, but there was another one we did. I'll shut up.
Yeah.
I'll move on.
Best to do that, I think.
Bottom line is, Dave, Ella and Trev can come and sit on the benches anytime they like, and we will try and help them get a ticket for the game. I've told them to email us and let us know when they're coming over. But
just on him being from in Chelsea near Melbourne, people of my vintage will remember the old football pools during the summer when we used to have Aussie results. And there always used to be a Chelsea team in there, and I had no idea.
That's where it is. It's near Melbourne. I know.
You always wanted them to do well, didn't you?
You did. I know. And actually, I got another email from Dave after I responded. He said exactly the same thing, which I thought was brilliant. But that's a great email, that, isn't it? We will help you out, Dave, and we will look forward to seeing Ella and Trev on the benches with this fine man who has got some questions for us, I hope.
Yeah, I've got a question here for Dan. It's from Rob Dog. And he says, does Jose have to win a trophy this season?
Yes. Next question.
But which one? Which one? Clearly not the Carling Cup or Capital One Cup and the FA Cup.
Well, every manager at Chelsea has to win a trophy. That's the way it works.
So that means we're either going to win the Champions League
or the league. One of two, aren't they? Exactly,
yeah.
I mean, the bread and butter, the way it's worked in the past, and this is something we've talked about again in the past, is that every manager who's failed to win the league has got his cards. So either there has to be a change in policy or he's got to pick up some points.
I think there might be a change in policy this year, but we shall see. Next.
This one is from @_BlueFunk and says, is JT the most important player for Jose this season?
Darren?
That's a really difficult one.
It is,
you can't
isn't
really
it?
say, can you?
I'll say yes, absolutely, unequivocally. I've done my answer.
One of two.
Who's the other one then?
Hazard.
Yeah, I thought that. That's why I was
Hazard.
actually thinking that. I don't know, it is too hard to say, but yeah, I think we did miss him. Benitez didn't want to play him last season when he was fit and when he was injured. Benitez
That's
was
another
happy
reason
to
for why I'd
slowly
say JT.
bring him back, and I do think,
with the exception of Czech, they're the first two names on the team sheet every week.
I agree. I think we did. It showed what we were missing last season, and JT's been brilliant this season.
Okay.
So, yeah, probably.
Dan?
Yeah, I would agree with that, definitely. Yeah.
What?
That JT's the most. JT and Hazard are the two, yeah.
Indeed. Good question. Blue Funk. We got time for another one? 2 minutes, yeah, we've got time for another one.
Okay, a question for Dan from @SoccerCrave wants to know, who do you think is Mourinho's #1 target this summer?
Well, I've got to write a piece about this actually, which is, can I give away all of
read it on FulhamChronicle.com in 2 days' time.
Read it on the Bleacher Report.
Sorry, the Bleacher.
This Friday. Anyway, #1 target. Well, he needs a striker, doesn't he? Got to have a striker. You would have thought Costa, but who knows? There has to be a new number 9 coming in.
I wonder if Roman Abramovich knows the Costa of everything and the value of nothing. That was a high-quality joke.
I
You miserable lot.
joke last week.
Yeah, but I made a different one this week.
God knows what he's going to do if he signs.
Spurs
I'm going to go and buy a Costa coffee to celebrate.
Oh, you took my gag.
I said it last week. Weren't you watching?
No.
Brilliant stuff. So Costa, Cavani.
A number 9 certainly, but also
Why not both of them?
why not both of them?
I had a little bit of goss from Sidders last night. He was tweeting for England at the stupid o'clock in the morning, as he always does, bless him. But he was putting forward that theory that why not clear out all of the strikers, possibly Luiz as well. Cole will go, so you get all of that off the wage bill, including Torres' hefty amount of the wage bill. So you could probably do a swap deal with Atletico Madrid, get Torres out there. Okay, we get Costa back in. The only issue there is Courtois, what happens with him. We'll go for Cavani as well.
Yeah.
And then there's a choice as to whether you keep or let Lukaku go.
Well, Eto's on a 1 year. You'd expect him to go in the summer, wouldn't you? Demba Ba's definitely going in the summer, isn't he? Torres, 2 years left on the contract. If you're going to sell a £50 million player, this is the time to do it.
I think they'll go.
There's a lot in what you say. And the other one I was going to say, and you already just mentioned it, you've taken my line again, was Courtois is the other big signing.
What about Courtois?
The other big signing that Jose's got to make.
On that bombshell, we've got to go because it's time for a break. But we will be back in a second to round up the Chelsea news and have more wonderful stats from the Chad Meister himself. I cannot wait.